All right, that's about all I could take before interrupting again. Bitcoin being based on fiat. Everything we trade, or the vast majority of things that we trade and exchange, are denominated in US dollars. That doesn't mean that they are based on fiat. It means that people value them next to and compare them to something that is fiat. The fact that this guy is even using the term fiat is really, really funny and sort of confusing and telling that he fundamentally doesn't understand something here, because fiat is a money that is backed by nothing. So he's saying it is still connected to fiat because it is priced in fiat. And so therefore you don't escape fiat by buying Bitcoin, which is just completely not true. I'm going to explain that more in depth too, because people might still feel like it is because you exchange it back and forth between fiat, but I'll get more into that afterwards. Again, I'll try not to interrupt here.
Because the dollar is decreasing in its value, because the uncertainty of war around. Nobody wants their money in something that can be wiped out with a push of a button somewhere. I've stayed free and clear of it because it's been dropping a great deal.
Now, what's funny here is he mentioned that fiat dollars are decreasing in value, which is the exact reason today that you would want hard money like Bitcoin. Bitcoin fundamentally has programmed issuance into it. 3.125 Bitcoin are released on average every 10 minutes, and that amount gets halved every roughly 4 years. And in the year roughly 2140, all Bitcoin will be issued. So this is a programmed, verifiable, auditable issuance of Bitcoin. Fiat does not have that. Fiat has these member banks that can create money whenever they create credit. When you go into the bank and you get a mortgage, they aren't transferring those dollars from one account to another. They are creating the money for you to go buy the home. They are adding dollars to your account that didn't exist before they added those dollars. That is only one of many ways that they create money within the fiat system out of nothing. And that is fundamentally the reason why fiat becomes worth less and less over time, because they are increasing the supply of something. They are arbitrarily and systematically creating more units of currency. And it is unpredictable. It's based on things like regulation. It's based on these individual banks, how much demand there is, how many people exist, all of these factors that create chaos for a system like this. If I was in this other guy's position here talking to Hustle and Flow over here, I would ask him, what can you own that is not connected to fiat in the same way that Bitcoin is connected to fiat? What else can you own? If you hold gold and you're not going to go to a store and shave off a piece of that gold to pay for a cup of coffee. If you hold Bitcoin, you're probably more likely to be able to do that. But even still, in today's age, you're not going to do that. You're going to sell your Bitcoin for dollars, right? That's the connection to dollars. You're then going to use those dollars as a medium of exchange. That's just where we currently are because of the adoption cycle and the demand for merchants to accept Bitcoin or for customers to pay in Bitcoin. So there's nothing that you can own that is not fiat based today in that sense of having an exchange rate with fiat. That is a meaningless argument. That is not a reason not to own something. If something is exchangeable for dollars, that means it has value because people are still valuing dollars. That's plain and simple. He then mentions the uncertainty of the wars going on and how that is something that you don't want to have Bitcoin because of that. Bitcoin is going, its price and its value is going to fluctuate based on so many different metrics, and a lot of its price is being evaluated by people that have much shorter time preferences and don't use it for cross-border settlement or for being able to transfer value out of a location that is war-torn. However, there is some sect of Bitcoin people or people that own Bitcoin that do find value in that exact reason. The fact that there is war actually provides them value in the idea of Bitcoin, of being able to buy hold private keys to the ownership of Bitcoin on a distributed ledger that cannot be confiscated from them if they secure those private keys properly. They could even go as far as memorizing the words themselves, the private key derived in a seed phrase, or a border wallet, or distribute it in multiple different ways, or transfer that information online somewhere. There's ways to do this. To move Bitcoin and escape war-torn regions because of it. And in fact, it is by far the best thing for that specific use case. Gold can be confiscated easily at border checkpoints. If you have your seed phrase memorized in your head, there is nothing for them to confiscate. They have no idea how much value you are taking away from a war-torn region.